Sure. My name is Anjana Dubey. I am Senior Director and Head of Performance Engineering and Site Reliability for McGraw Education. My responsibility is to ensure that every product and services we build is highly performing, reliable, and fault tolerant. McGraw Hill, right? McGraw Education. The first thing that comes to your mind is books.
Yeah.
But I keep saying this, we are not a book company anymore. We are a learning science company. We improve student outcomes. We deliver education technology at scale. We have tens of millions of users, learners, and educators that come to our different platforms and for the different education needs. And for them and for us, reliability is very important. Yeah. So we keep reliability at the center of everything we do. Again, the topics is DevOps and NoOps, and that is something that we are really focusing on how can we make our system self-heal, make it, I keep saying this in my meetings, that we don't want to keep giving human blood to machines. Mm-hmm. We want to take the labor out and make the machines work for themselves. Mm-hmm. So we are focusing on NoOps with site reliability engineering.
Yeah. Pretty cool. Yeah.
So as John was mentioning in the morning, we have a ton of data available right to us. When we think of data, when we think of monitoring, we think of answers now rather than questions, rather than the data itself. We don't want human minds to just keep analyzing this data and then take the decision. We want the decision to be taken autonomously, right? So that we know what needs to be done, and then that basically gives birth to self-healing that I was talking about. Once you know that, okay, we have this monitoring data, that we know that this particular build that is flowing through this pipeline has this particular issue because one of the KPI actually degraded because of a particular check-in that happened, and this guy did it, if you want to go that route, then you basically take actions, corrective actions immediately. And that is for the pre-prod. And when it comes to prod, there's a ton of metrics, ton of data that we have available through Dynatrace or any APM that we might be using, or different monitoring solutions. How do we leverage this and build the AI that can help us take those decisions for us? And then we can use that to basically inject things into our system that can help us self-resolve some of these issues. So yeah, monitoring data is critical. At the same time, we are looking for more than data. We are looking for answers.
Yeah. Do you just, maybe for the audience, is there some piece of data that you give to somebody, that the way you implemented it, that maybe we wouldn't have thought of to give it to somebody? Like, I mean, any kind of special metrics that you're looking at that, again, I want people to walk away from this and say, I learned, hey, this metric I never thought of, to give it to this particular group of people.
Right. One thing very interesting, we do a ton of things, but one thing that stands out is we call it a sleep index, and we look at all the alerts that get generated on a weekly basis. That is all the events that has occurred. And we basically look at, that basically tells us if our engineers or SREs are sleeping enough or not.
So it's like a sleep index.
Sleep index, okay. Yeah. So, and again, John mentioned that the Mark is sleeping good now with Dynatrace. So are we, and we want to basically make sure that we have that index taken care of. And how are we making sure that our engineers are sleeping enough? And how do we do it? We look at these alerts, we see how many pages got triggered, and then we look at what are the trends and patterns, and how can we basically create automation around it that can self-solve some of these problems so that our engineers do not get alert for the things that they don't need to get alerted. So, yep.
Yeah. Sleep index.
Sleep index.
Introduce the topic. Who of you works in an organization that actually has a site reliability engineering team? Cool. Yeah, a couple of those. Perfect. So maybe, what is site reliability engineering? I put a couple of logos in there, or screenshots, and I know you are Director of Site Reliability Engineering. Maybe you want to quickly get us through what is site reliability engineering, why is it so hot, who coined it, and give a little overview.
Sure. So we are coming from DevOps, right, most of us. Site reliability is the next big thing in DevOps, I should say that. Site reliability is how a software engineer builds operation function, thinks about operation function. Site reliability engineering team is basically embedded into the agile teams, sitting with the product engineers and making sure that the product that we are delivering is taken care from reliability perspective right from the day one. So we are building reliability into the application. into the infrastructure. So the site reliability engineers are basically focused on reliability, keeping reliability at the center of everything they do, with the agility and the speed at which they want to deliver features. At the same time, they are automating all the infrastructure stuff. So they're taking care of the infrastructure automation. They are taking off overall build, maintain, and managing the production systems. They're also looking at the incident management, problem management. They're reacting to alerts and stuff, and making sure that the product engineers understand the pain that SREs go through when things go wrong, so that that gets injected into the product delivery life cycle, or the product engineers are actually understanding what it takes to build a code which is not very performant. So site reliability engineering is basically focused on reliability, making sure that we have the speed and agility at which that company wants to move forward with delivering features to customers. That's a short answer. There's a ton of things the site reliability engineer does, right from the infrastructure automation to building self-healing systems, because they don't want phone calls, and they are software engineers. They can code pretty much everything, and they want to code. They want to solve any operation or production issues through software. Like I said, they don't want to put labor or human blood into it. They build systems that is very resilient to faults, and you want the production system to run unattended as much as possible. And for any system to run unattended, it has to be resilient to fault. So they build the fault tolerance and reliability into the platforms from all aspects, not just the code, but the infrastructure, the overall infrastructure as code, the monitoring as code. They basically automate pretty much everything that entails the successful product engineering teams.
So Mike, is Transurban doing site reliability engineering?
No, we're definitely not. But we've spent the time, building ourselves around DevOps, building the teams, the product teams, etc. And I think I've got a question.
Sure.
It's a big investment, to build platform teams and the DevOps teams and get into where we are today. To do this, we almost have to undo it all and rebuild, which is you're changing the structure of delivery team. What sort of type of impacts would you expect that we would face if we have to? If Transurban did say we're going to go down this path, what do you think we'd have to do?
No, absolutely. So there's an old saying, right? The culture beats the strategy. So the first thing that you want to make sure is culture. That is taken care. You have to change the culture, and I think I'm proud to say that we did pretty well there. We changed a lot of processes that helps the culture to change. We basically keep performance and reliability at quality of everything we do. We basically looked at a lot of things early on. We changed our agile processes when performance engineering gets involved or SREs get involved. So that they basically looking at that with that lens of reliability, everything that is flowing in. And then we wanted everything to be taken care by code, right? So you are basically coding everything. Now, building such team is a challenge. It's not an easy thing. But good thing is we all have those skills. I mean, every company pretty much has those skills. All you need is make sure that you have a strategy towards it, and then the focus towards building such team. The site reliability engineers are basically software engineers, a mix of sysops, or system admins. You have monitoring engineers, you have the performance engineers, database engineers. They all work together with the software engineers. So we have these functions in our organization. So all we have to do is we have to make sure that we understand what it takes. And there's a very good book, Site Reliability Engineering by Google, which basically, and that's there on our slide too, that helps learn some of this very quickly and easily, how Google did it. But we are not Googles. We have our own problems to solve. We have our own challenges to take care of. But there's a lot of learning that we can get out of this. And maybe not SREs, but we can probably have a crawl, walk, run process in it. And the first thing is the wake up. Nobody talks about it, right? So we had DevOps and we had issues there. It was siloed. Nobody was talking to each other. There was production issues were operations issues and not the product engineers issues.
So that means you had DevOps on the one side and Ops on the other side,
Right.
which doesn't really, it's strange because it's called DevOps. So you have DevOps. Dev.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we bridged all that through SREs. And again, it wasn't an easy thing to do, but again, it's not an impossible thing to do. Given that we have the skills, we have the team, all we need is the direction.
Yeah. Nice, you guys doing Chaos Monkey?
Yeah, not exactly Chaos Monkey, but we do a lot of failover. We have some of automation on how we test reliability of our system. So we do a lot of failover tests. We do a lot of resiliency tests. Some of the Chaos Monkey suite from Netflix, they have some great tools to use, and we use some of those tools as well. So yeah.
Anything to add from the audience for those folks that are doing site reliability engineering already? Some lesson learned that you want to hand off to others? Or a question again to the audience, to the panelists here?
How do you avoid burnout?
Can you repeat that?
How do you avoid the burnout?
How do you avoid to burn out? Yeah.
That's a very good question. So how do you avoid burnout? The ton of production issues are all over the place, right? But that's where we have a culture shift. We want the product engineers to understand the pain of SREs. So we basically have, so there's something called, in the book, it's a book there's a very good metric that I'm a big fan of, and I call it as point of no return, sorry. Basically look at your SLAs. So you look at your SLAs to 99.9% that you want to meet. That means that you have error budget of 0.01%. So you know how much uptime you can, or downtime you can take in a year. Based on that, you basically do some calculation, come up with, okay, this team or this agile team, or this particular product engineering team needs more SRE time versus the rest because their system is more reliable than this team's. So you basically convert some of the SREs or some of the product engineers to SREs. And SREs for us is not a team, it's a role, and anybody can play that role. The software engineers play that role, so they are going to react to these alerts, to these issues, so that they understand the pain, and hence the culture gets shifted towards building the reliability into our products when they're developing it. So they look at the code, they look at everything, they make sure that we are doing the things right. In case if we are still not able to meet the goal, we basically onboard more SREs to that team that takes care of some of that work so that the team does not get burned out. But again, we want to make sure that the culture is there to build software that are resilient to issues.
It's spot on about culture. And at the moment you have production issues before the team is properly formed. It's still evolving. If you had a production issue, the developers, even though they weren't SREs, would get involved because they had small skin in the game. It wasn't a handoff. I've done my code, we on to the next one.
Right.
They see their friends because what you're doing is you're letting go your partners, your friends, your teammates.
Right.
Yeah, and that's
You ship bad code. You own it. You build it. You fix it.
exactly.
You own it, right.